Hey everyone, welcome back to NDC, and today we're going to be taking a look at the LazyVGrid and LazyHGrid. This is perfect for when you have a ton of different options, whether that's photos, maybe even colors, any real large data set. Essentially the way it works is we have columns that are defined as data, and only the visible cells render. So right now the red through green is what's rendered. As we scroll, these other items are only loaded on demand. In this video, we'll explore the column system, the sizing modes, pinned headers, and we'll be taking a look at this photo, but really kind of a color grid. So if you're interested to learn more about the LazyV and HGrids, let's go ahead and dive on in. Just as a note, I am using Xcode, and I'm just going to be starting off in a blank iOS app template with the SwiftUI interface. Let's first explore the basics of the LazyVGrid. So the LazyVGrid essentially has two parts. It takes an array of grid item, and then each item is a column. The content is a flat list of views. The grid flows them across the columns you define. Under our structure, and before our variable body SomeView, let's go ahead and establish our columns. This is going to equal an array, so we're going to use our square brackets. Then we're going to add grid item. We'll then add a bracket, and from here, we can use dot notation, and we're going to set these to be flexible. Now, you can set a minimum and maximum for the flexible if you'd like for more control. I'm just going to leave the arguments empty. We'll then add a column, and we can actually even just copy and paste this down here for all of our grid items. Then in our view, let's go ahead and wrap this in a scroll view first. Within that scroll view, we'll now call upon our LazyVGrid. Within the argument brackets, we're going to include the columns, and those will just be the columns we've created above under our structure. Outside the argument brackets, we'll add our brace, and we'll have a for each. The power of the LazyVGrid is we want it to dynamically render over a ton of different items. So in this case, I'm just going to have a range from 0, ... We'll use the less than 40. I'll then add a brace. We'll have our I in, I just representing our index, and I'll just use a color here. I'll do blue, and I'll then include a frame height. You can see we kind of have our columns already populated on the screen. I'll set this to maybe be 200, and then I'll add a little bit of overlay. And for this, we'll just have like text to display, where they're at. So we'll do a string interpolation of I. We can even add some foreground style on that of white, so it's a little bit easier to see. All right, so we can see we have two flexible columns here, and because it's a scroll view, we can scroll through all 40 of these items. So the cells below the fold don't actually exist until they're about to enter the view. So as we scroll up, things like 13 all the way to 39, they don't exist, and that's the lazy part. And it lives inside a scroll view. The LazyVGrid doesn't actually scroll itself. If we were to comment off the scroll view here in one of the braces so we don't mess it up, you'll notice when it renders, we no longer have that scroll, and it's actually kind of put us in the center of the LazyVGrid. So you'll often see them paired with those scroll views. Again, LazyVGrid itself is a layout, not a container. Let's talk about the sizing modes. The column's width actually comes from the grid items, so where we've created them up here in the columns. There's 3 modes, and picking the right one is actually most of the job. First, we actually have the fixed. We can have a column with an exact width. So we had set it to be flexible, but if we were to change this to be fixed, we can then include a CG float. I'm going to do 80, and let's go ahead and copy that for the other grid item. We can see now on the right side our fixed size of 80. We can even include another grid item here just to show that it always is going to be the same size. So now we have 3 columns, each with 80 points. If the screen's wider, there's dead space on the right and on the left here. I would use fixed when the content has a real pixel size, maybe a calendar cell or perhaps a fixed avatar. Second is what we actually had before, which was flexible. So let's go ahead and explore that one again. So dot flexible, and we do have that minimum or maximum if we do want to have more control over the size. Unless I'm doing something very specific, I'll actually usually leave my flexibles with the empty argument brackets. This way, the column actually stretches to fill available space, and it will divide evenly amongst other flexible columns. So we can see with 1, it kind of fills up everything. If we were to add, let's do 4 for this one, we'll see how they evenly are flexible and spread out. Use flexible when you want to know column count that adapts to width. The third one we're going to look at is the adaptive. So once again, in our GridItem.adaptive. You can also include a minimum and a maximum. So I'm going to set my minimum to be 100, and you don't need both minimum and maximum. So we can see here with just one grid item set to adaptive, it actually has decided vertically it could fit 1, 2, 3, 4 columns with the minimum width of 100. If we were to actually swap this to be horizontal, so let's go to our preview here and we'll change the orientation to landscape. Now we can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in landscape. So the adaptable is actually very flexible. This is one for things like photo grids, emoji pickers, anything where the column count should respond to the device width. Just as a note, on macOS, adaptive is particularly powerful because the window is freely resizable. The column count adjusts in real time as the user drags the window edge. The same code that responds to rotation on iPhone responds to window width on Mac with no changes. Next, spacing and alignment. So 2 places that spacing actually lives. The first is in the LazyVGrid itself. See here where we have the columns, we can include spacing. So after we've established what columns we want, just like in HStacks, etc., we can set the number here. In this case, maybe 12. This spacing is the space between the rows. We can also do it on each grid item, and that space is actually between the column and the next. So after this flexible, we'll add a comma, and we'll do our spacing. Let's set this to also be 12, and we'll repeat it down here. Now the 12 wasn't that big of a shift. If we were to set this to be something larger, let's say maybe 50, we'll notice it a little bit more. Now this is just for an example. I typically go with a number as low as 12 just to give it more breathing room. You can also apply alignment. So just to remember, horizontal on the items and then vertical on the grid. Alignment actually follows the same pattern. We can use it on the grid item for the column. So we can do our alignment, and I'm going to set this to be leading, and we'll set this other one to be trailing. When the grid has sections, maybe photos by month, contacts by letter, we can wrap each group in a section and tell the grid where to pin the headers. So I'm going to add another list up top, and we'll call them months. We'll have it equal an array. Things like January, February, and perhaps March. Now let's modify our LazyVGrid. So we have our columns, we have our spacing, we'll then add another comma, and we'll have our pinned views. And this is going to be an array, so we'll use our square brackets, and we'll do the dot section headers. There is the section footers as well. I'm doing headers for mine. I'm then going to create a little bit of space. We're going to wrap our for each within the months. So I'm going to add the for each. In our bracket, I'm going to have the months, comma. We'll then have our ID, which will be the \self. We'll add a brace, and we'll have month in. After the month in, we'll include our section. We'll add our brace, and this is where we're going to have our for each. So I'm actually going to copy and paste our for each from down here. Let's put it within the section. I'm just going to reduce this down to maybe 20. Now we're going to go to the end of the section, and we're going to include a header. We'll add a colon, our brace, and this is where we're going to have the text of the month. We can add a little bit of style so it stands out. Maybe we'll do a title and we'll also bold it. We can include things like a frame with a min and max width. So I'll set this to be infinity, and we'll have some alignment leading. Even include things like padding. So I'm going to do some vertical padding. So now we can see we have January. As we scroll down 20 cells, we'll then have February. And then finally March. Now this is not a perfect solution right now. We can see it's a little bit scuffed as we're kind of scrolling through, but they do have those headers. So watch January as we scroll. The header kind of sticks with this section as it scrolls, and then it will cross into the next section. Now February, As we scroll more, now we're in March. You can also give it an opaque background. Without it, the cells actually show through. So if you were to go to the dot background, and we set this to be dot background, now when we scroll, we kind of have that white bar. So you can make this whatever color you want. I just have it as white. This way we can kind of see this is January, February a little bit more clear, and the cells aren't kind of like bleeding through. Okay, now let's put it together. We're going to create an adaptive photo grid. We'll have column count that responds to width, tiles or squares, and 2-point gutters, kind of like the photo app. So I'm going to create a new file from template. I'll call it something like photo grid view. Let's first start off by establishing our columns, which is going to equal the array of grid item. And I'm actually going to do the dot adaptive for this one. And I'm going to include a minimum of 100. You can include a maximum. I often find I don't need it. And then I'll also include some spacing. I'll just do a low number like 2. Then I'm going to establish my photos, which is going to equal a capital A array. So within the brackets, we're going to have 0 dot dot less than 80. Now within the view, this is where we're going to display the LazyVGrid. So I'm going to do a navigation stack, add a brace, and we'll have a scroll view, add a brace, and then we'll create our LazyVGrid. Let's then reference those columns, which we've created above, and we'll have some spacing. I'm just going to do a small number like 2, so it's consistent. We'll add a brace, we'll do our for each. We're going to look at those photos, comma, ID. Then we're going to use the backslash dot self. Brace again, I in. From here, within the for each, I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat. I'm going to have some color with the custom hue. That hue is going to be a double. And we're going to look at the argument of I, which is that I in. Then we're going to divide that by 80. Then I'm going to add a comma. From there, I'm also going to look at the saturation. I'll set this to be 0.6, comma, the brightness, I'll do 0.9. And now we can see already on the right, we kind of have our rainbow. Because there's not a whole lot of height to these, we can see already that it's using that adaptive mode beautifully. After the bracket of our color, let's go ahead and add an aspect ratio. I'm going to set this to be 1. And then we'll also have the content mode of dot fill. I'm also going to add a little bit of padding at the end of this LazyVGrid, maybe something like 2, so they get just a little bit more space around the edges. Why not? Let's add a navigation title. We'll call it photos. I mean, in reality, we kind of have a color palette. However, this is totally a pattern you can replicate for a photo library. So on the right, we have our square titles here. We're using the aspect ratio, so we can lock each cell to 1:1, those perfect squares, and the 2-point gutters on the column and grid match. If we were to, once again, rotate our phone, so let's change the orientation to landscape left or even right, we can see that because it's adaptive, it still fits. And again, because it's lazy, it's loading these colors first, and then the colors like this more red and purple, they're not being loaded, or if these were actual photos, they're not being loaded until they're needed. So imagine if you had 200, 1,000 photos, that would be a huge ask when you first render the view. So as a recap, LazyVGrid, this is responsive. This is great for scrolling grids of arbitrary length. The grid item that we established up here defines the columns. You could use things like fixed for pixel widths, flexible for known count, or my favorite, adaptive for a responsive count. You can also use the section plus the pinned views as we explored over here in order to make sure that you kind of have these headers or titles that are more sticky. Now, I know we talked about the LazyVGrid, however, the LazyHGrid essentially is the same idea, but on its side, a horizontal scrolling grid with rows instead of columns. So let's change this up to the LazyHGrid, and instead of the columns, we would be calling upon rows. Now, it's a little bit more cursed on this preview because we haven't set things up, and we'd want to update our scroll view to be dot horizontal. And now we'd be able to go from left to write with the LazyHGrid. I'd also rename this up here instead of columns to be rows, so it's a lot more clear, but you get the idea. So if you need your columns to line up across a fixed data set, use grid. If it scrolls and grows, that's the power of the LazyHGrid and the LazyVGrid. I'm going to change this back before I forget. So if you found this video useful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you in the next one.